guys, Mrs. Dan's here. So today we're on lesson 17. You can see that we will be writing equations in slope-intercept form, which is that y equals mx plus b form, because m stands for the slope and b stands for the y-intercept. We will first find the slope and then we'll figure out what the y-intercept is. So you could do your do now without me, and then I'll go over it with you. And in your Google Classroom are the answers to last night's homework. So make sure you're checking those homework answers too, because what's happening is today we're doing the reverse of what we did yesterday. So if I go over your do now with you, you can see the equation in y equals mx plus b form already. So the slope happens to be -3/4, and the y-intercept is -2. Remember, we start at the -2. Since the slope is negative, we're going to go down 3 boxes and to the right 4. So I'll start at -2, I'll go down 3, and to the right 4, to get a point. When you run out of room in one direction, remember you could go the other way. If I start at this point and I go up 1, 2, 3 and left 2, 3, 4, I get right back to that y-intercept. So I'm going to do that again. 1, 2, 3, left 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I have enough points to draw a decent straight line. It's hard on this tablet that I use for writing. And we should label the line. And that's what we've been doing for a while now. So let's see what's going to be going on in today's lesson. So it says just like we can draw the solution set to a linear equation when it's in the y equals mx plus b format, we actually can now write the equation of a line just by looking at the graph. So I had said in the objective that I wanted to find the slope first and then the y-intercept. I guess it doesn't really matter if I do slope first or y-intercept in a situation like this, but what I definitely want to do is darken in the points on this line. When they give you a line, sometimes the points aren't darkened in for you. So I'm actually just going to zoom in a little bit more so that we can look at this line. I can see that this point here, -1, -8, is a nice integer value ordered pair on the line. I would never pick something like this point. Okay, so don't darken that in. You never want to pick points that are decimal numbers. So you want the ones that cross the graph paper very nicely. So right here, the y-intercept, 0, -5, that's a nice point. Right here is a nice point. And now I'm already seeing the pattern of the points. Do you see it's going up 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. So I bet you the next point is 1, 2, 3 over 1. Yep, there's a point right there. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1. What is this called when I say up 1, 2, 3 over 1? Hopefully you just said the slope. That's true. The slope of this line, I'm just going to write it over here for now, is 3 over 1. We talked about that y-intercept, right? I could see this point where it's crossing the y-axis at -5. So now I have the slope and the y-intercept. If you have a slope and a y-intercept, you can actually write the equation of the line. So the slope was 3 over 1, which you're also allowed to just write as 3, and the y-intercept is -5. So I can write my equation in y equals mx plus b form by saying y equals 3x minus 5. This is the equation of the line that is graphed. In order to write an equation of a line, you need m and b. Let's write that little note. To write an equation of a line, you need, very, very important, you need M and B. Remember, M is your slope and B is your y-intercept. So if I can write down what the M is and if I can write down what the B is, I can then write the equation to the line. Now what the heck are they asking me to check? Well, if I wrote the equation properly, it means any of these points that I darkened in will check in that equation. Because remember, when you plug in an x and a y value into an equation, if it's on the line, it will work. So how about we just choose this point, the point 1 comma negative 2. So let's write down that we're going to check 1 comma negative 2. Remember that the 1 is the x value and the negative 2 is the y value. So where am I plugging this x and y into? Well, it's this equation that I just wrote. Y equals 3x minus 5. How about I write negative 2 equals 3 times 1 minus 5. I just plugged in this negative 2 for y and this 1 for x. So does negative 2 equal, I don't know what that parenthesis is I have at the end there. Sorry about that. Let me get rid of that. Negative 2 equals 3 minus 5, and 3 minus 5 is actually negative 2. So it checks. You can really check any point on the line. We didn't have to check that point that was the 1, negative 2. What if I wanted to check this point? This is the point 3 comma 4. So let's try another one. Let's check 3 comma 4. This is the x, this is the y. Let's plug the 3 in place of the x and the 4 in place of the y. When I use this equation that I think is right, of y equals 3x minus 5. So does 4 equal 3 times 3 minus 5? Does 4 equal 9 minus 5? Yeah, 4 does equal 4. I am certain that this equation is correct. The equation of that line is y equals 3x minus 5. So let's do the next one. Let's darken in the nice points. My nice points look like it's going down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. Every time I go down 2, right 1, I find another point on the line. So if you can do it multiple times and keep on finding points on the line, you found your slope. It's down 2 over 1. So that's why I wrote it as a negative 2. Negative 2 over 1, yeah, I could just do that. The y-intercept, we can see where it crosses the y-axis. It crosses right here. That's the point at 7. The y-intercept is 7. So let's write our equation in y equals mx plus b form, because all I needed over here to write your equation, remember all you need is m and b. I have my m, I have my b. So y equals mx plus b, so y equals negative 2x plus 7. Let's pick a point to check. What point will we check? How about this one? 2 comma 3. So I'm going to plug the 2 in place of x, the 3 in place of y, into my equation y equals negative 2x plus 7. Does 3 equal negative 2 times 2 plus 7? Does 3 equal negative 4 plus 7? It sure does. Okay, so after you write your equation, you can pick one of the points and make sure it works. All right, so let's move on. Right here is my y-intercept, so I'm going to fill that in first actually. And it looks like my line is going up 1 over 1. So my slope is 1 over 1, which is the same thing as 1. So what's the equation? I agree. Y equals 1x plus 1. Some people write this as just y equals x plus 1, because remember, we don't have to put that coefficient of x if it's a 1. Let's check a point. Let's check, what point? How about this one? 1 comma 2. 1 is the x, 2 is the y. Y equals 1x plus 1. Y, oh, not y, I have to plug it in. What am I plugging in? Yeah, I'm plugging in that 2. Does 2 equal 1 times 1 plus 1? Does 2 equal 1 plus 1? Sure does. So I'm confident that this is my answer. Now take a look at this one. Don't get fooled. What kind of line is it? Yep, it's horizontal. What kind of slope do horizontal lines have? Yep, the slope is always 0. And this is the y-intercept at 4. I really don't have to write this in y equals mx plus b form, because I know all horizontal lines are always in the form of y equals some number. So the equation is just y equals, oh, it crosses at -4, as it stands. Y equals -4. Now, if you wanted to write it in y equals mx plus b form, we could. We could write y equals 0x minus 4, but what's 0 times x? Yeah, it's just 0. And what's 0 minus 4? Yeah, it's just -4. So all horizontal lines, I always do in this format. Y equals whatever number it's crossing the y-axis at. I'm going to skip this check. We're going to move on because we're going to learn how to write the equation of a line from a table of values. So remember what we need to write an equation. We need M and B. M stands for the slope, and B stands for the y-intercept. And we know how to find a slope in a table of values. Remember that we learned that slope is equal to change in y over change in x. We also learned that you can use the slope formula, which says y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So all I need is 2 points from this table. They're already in xy pairs, and I can plug it into this formula if I want. I could plug in 5 minus 3 over -1 minus -2. Now I'll have to tell you that when I'm given a table, I usually don't use this slope formula. I'm showing you that you can, and some of you prefer this way. But I like to do just the change in y over the change in x. So I could see using the slope formula, I get 2 over 1. But I like doing this. From 3 to 5, it changes the y by 2. And from -2 to -1, the change in x is 1. So now I can just see that my slope, change in y over change in x, is just going to be 2 over 1. So I usually just look at my table, say, oh, this goes up 2, this goes up 1, so I write 2 over 1. So that's how I always do slope from a table. Now, when I'm doing my y-intercept, we have to focus on something. I actually want to go back to the do now for a moment. You don't have to turn your pages back, just take a look. We had said right here is the y-intercept. The y-intercept we said was -2. This point as an xy pair is the point 0, -2. So to be on the y-axis, the x value is always going to be 0. Let's take a look at these problems that we did. This y-intercept, we called it -5. It's the point 0, -5. This y-intercept, we said it was at 7. It's the point 0.07. So do you see every time we name the y-intercept as a point, it's always 0, comma, that number. That's important to recognize. This y-intercept is 0, comma 1. Why is it important to recognize? Because when I'm given a table of values, right here, I can see my y-intercept because there's a 0 for the x number. If the x number is 0, then that y number is your y-intercept. That's always, always true. Okay, so you're looking for a 0 in the x column so that you know what your y-intercept is. If I know my slope and my y-intercept, I can write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. I could say y equals 2x plus 7. So let's do number 2. The change in y goes down by 3. The change in x goes up by 1. So the slope is -3/1. Now I look at my table and look for a 0 in the x column so that I can find my y-intercept. I always circle it. My y-intercept is -4. We can write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. It would be y equals -3x minus 4. Next, the y's are increasing, going from a -17 to a -13. That's actually going up by 4. And the x's are increasing by 1, so the slope is 4/1. And now here's where we're stuck. Do you notice there's not a 0 in the x column? But take a look at this for a moment. Isn't this going up 4 and up 1 and up 4 and up 1 and up 4 and up 1? There's this nice pattern. So let's back up the pattern, because do you see this is a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, a 1. The thing that comes right before it would be my 0. So what would be the y-intercept? What would be this number that comes before -17? Hopefully you're thinking -21, because that's what makes it keep on increasing by 4, right? A -21 to a -17, that's an increase of 4. So sometimes we have to extend our table so that we can find the 0 in the x column, therefore finding the y-intercept. So my equation in y equals mx plus b form would be y equals 4x minus 21. So let's try it again in number 4. So this is decreasing. It's getting more negative each time. It looks like it's going down by 5, and over here it's going up by 1. And this is going down by 5, and up by 1, and down by 5, and up by 1, and down by 5, and up by 1. Remember, I'm trying to find a 0 in the x column. So this is -6, -5, -4, -3, -2. I would go -1, and then I would go 0. So I'm going to kind of like ignore this slope here for a second. I'll squeeze it down here. This is where I would find my y-intercept. So if I go down by 5 again, I'm at -29. And then if I go down by 5 again, correct, -34. So my slope is -5/1. My y-intercept is -29. the equation in y equals mx plus b form is y equals negative 5x minus 29. So hopefully that makes sense to you, that we're looking for the change in y over the change in x to find our slope, and then we're looking for a 0 in the x column. If you don't see a 0, you need to extend your table until you find it. And then you use that pattern of our slope to be able to fill in the pattern of the missing numbers to help us find our y-intercept. This is practice. If I was here in school with you, I would say practice with your partner and then check your answers with me. And then this, where it says problem set, this is your homework. So your homework, I'm definitely going to leave you to do on your own. There are a total of 15 questions where you're going to write the equation of the line in y equals mx plus b form. Remember, you need to search for your m and your b. So if you're given a graph, the way you find your slope is by counting your rise over your run. And the way you find your b is by looking at where the line crosses the y-axis. In a table like 13, 14, and 15, you're going to do your change in y over your change in x, and you're going to look for the 0 in the x column. But for something that I skipped here in 9, 10, 11, and 12, those are the easy ones. They already tell me the m, they already tell me the b. You just write the equation in y equals mx plus b form. But I'm not going to let you start your homework yet. You're coming back here to do the practice with me on video. So we have to write the equation of the line. They tell me the slope, that's my m. They tell me the y-intercept, that's my b. Oh, we say easy peasy. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals 4x plus a negative 6. I would normally write it as y equals 4x minus 6. I don't usually do plus negative 6. Done. Number 2. Oh, it's a graph. Great. Right there's my y-intercept. And it looks like it's going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Oh, my slope is positive 2 over 1. Got it. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals 2x plus 2. So if you can do 1 and 2, you could do quite a few of your homework questions already. Let's skip to number 5. Table of values. This goes up by 1. This goes down by 1. So my slope is 1 over negative 1, which is the same thing as just a negative 1. My y-intercept is right here. It's at 5. So in y equals mx plus b form, I'll write y equals negative 1x plus 5. Some people write it as y equals negative x plus 5 because I don't really have to put that coefficient of 1. Let's do b. I think the tables are the hardest ones, so that's why I skipped those graphs and came down to the tables. In b, this is going down by 4 and up by 2. So my slope is negative 4 over 2, which simplifies to be negative 2 over 1, which is the same thing as negative 2. I do not see my y-intercept, and this is kind of a tricky one. Since they were going down 4 and up 2 in my pattern, they kind of like skipped over the y-intercept. It would be right in here. It's squeezed in the middle. So I'm actually going to use this simplified version of my slope. Let me just zoom in a little bit so that I can fit my writing. So I want to go down 2 from here to here to say that there's an 8 in here. And then up by 1, which means there's a -4. Do you see how they skipped all these in-betweens? So this would be a 4, and this would be a -2. So this would be a 0, while this is a 0. So I found my y-intercept. It's 0. My b is 0. So sometimes it's kind of like in between. So y equals mx plus b, y equals -2x plus 0. Remember, we don't even have to write plus 0. We can write y equals -2x. Ooh, look at this one. Notice, notice, notice. This is the equation y equals 6. I don't have to do any work. Done. They only say for this to write the equation for each table. They don't ask me for the slope. I got the equation. This is the equation. If they ask me for the slope, slopes of horizontal lines are always 0. Take a look at this one. Ooh, this is x equals 5. Done. That's the equation of the line. Okay, they didn't ask me for the slope. If they did, I'd say that the slope is undefined because all vertical lines have an undefined slope. But they asked for the equation, so this is really what they want as your answer. So I'm going to say I'm done. 26 minutes. You can start your homework, and you have to finish it, of course, on your own, and I will be checking it when I see you. Have a good day. Talk to you soon. Bye.